familiar. Now, so often I talk to you about reaching towards what feels good, allowing what feels good to be your Sat Nav towards more of you, all of you, divine unity of you. Because we know that when you are living and existing and being in unity of you divine, then you're going to be divinely loving your life. You're going to be divinely experiencing and divinely connecting, and you are going to be here in this physical human experience, present just as you wanted to be, living life as you, which was your divine reason for coming down here. So why do I say beware the familiar? Because familiar can feel good simply because it's familiar. Familiar can be, oh yeah, that's how I usually do it. That feels good because I know it. But we know full well, think of the term, better the devil you know. Is it better though? I say no. Just because you know it, just because it's familiar, be careful. That is not what feels good. And it's certainly not what feels great divinely. I talk about welcoming the change. I talk about accepting that you are a maker of change. You are a divine creator. You bring change. It's inherent in you. And that's why, for us change makers, familiar can be a dangerous place to exist. If something is familiar, if it's the same, if it feels safe simply only because it's familiar, then we might start to hang out there. We might start to think it feels good simply because we're repelling change, simply because we're a bit worried about what change would be like. This is why I'm here, to help you to welcome the change. I'm here to show you that change isn't scary. It isn't something to hide from. It doesn't have to be something to repel or deny. You don't have to assume that change is bad simply because it's change. After all, if the change that you're bringing is the change that you want, then change is going to feel good. Change is so inherent as you, as a physical human, that it becomes dangerous if we exist in the familiar. If the only place we want to stay is what we know, then you're going to be existing as less of you. Why? Because as a physical human, you are a change maker. Therefore, if you're not accepting of change and welcoming of change and loving of change, then you're not being all of you. Now, you don't have to be accepting and welcoming of all change. You don't have to love change simply because it's change. You might do. There is a part of me that loves the feeling of change simply because I love change. So I have to be careful that I'm not just changing for change's sake. But you might be somebody who doesn't like change. You might be somebody who has shackled and anchored yourself into the familiar because that's what feels safe. Because you have changed the description of safe to feeling good. But when I say feels good, that's spiritual reference. That's not just, oh yeah, it feels a bit safer over here, I'm not sure I like that change. It is, oh God, yeah, that is what I want. And this is where you would forget that it's change, and you would forget that you don't like change, and that you favour the familiar, and you'd go, God, I want that, that's what I want, I'm going there. Imagine the restaurant menu. Imagine you're going, no, I like familiar. I always have steak, so I'm always going to have steak. And then you look at the menu and there is a piece of fish that's described in the best possible way. Maybe your cells are asking for those ingredients. Suddenly you're looking at the fish and going, I don't ever eat fish, but God, do I want that. You forget that you're inviting change and you go, God, that feels good, I'm going to have that, and you're going to love every bite of it. Recognising those moments that you are welcoming change. Because change doesn't have to be grand. Change doesn't have to be all-encompassing. Change can literally be in this moment. I want what I want. And what I want now might be different to what I want tomorrow, and is certainly different to what I wanted yesterday. Let's give you an example. I was just teaching Pilates, And one of our staple moves is the curl up. And I said those words. Be careful of the familiar. That last week you did your curl up like this, and that's what feels familiar. And so it feels good, because it feels like you're working and you're trying and you're perfecting a move. I don't want you to be perfect. I want you to be perfectly you. That means that in this moment, accept that the curl up that you did this time last week might not be the curl up that you need to do today. Maybe your curl up today needs your head further back, or your tailbone a little heavier. Maybe it needs your thigh bones plugged in. Maybe it needs you to push back and hollow through your chest and plug your arms in more. Why? Because maybe in the last week you've been dragging chairs around for the Queen's Jubilee. Maybe you're tighter in your chest. Maybe there are different overworking muscles because the week you've just had means that your body has changed. Your body has taken a week's more breath. Your body has done a week's worth more of moving. Your body is different today to how it was a week ago. So why would you assume that you need exactly the same curl up to feel exactly the same, to do exactly the same job? Maybe this time you need a softer start to your curl up. Maybe you need a softening that allows you to mobilize. Maybe you need the softening to come to a much greater degree before the activation, before the work. Extrapolate that example out into the rest of your living. Why would you assume in this moment that doing the same thing, just because it's familiar, just because that's what you do on a Thursday at 11 o'clock, why would you assume that that is what you want right now? That is what your self wants right now. Allow feels good to be your Sat Nav. In this moment, I warn you, beware of familiar. If familiar feels good, great. But don't assume that familiar does feel good. Because it might just feel comfortable. And you, my friend, are a creator of change. Comfort, stillness, staying exactly where you are is not what you're built for. Because even in moments of stillness, you are breathing. Even in moments of stillness, you are connecting, you are experiencing. Even in moments of stillness, you are a changing, energetic being. And if you're not, then maybe you're shackling. Maybe you're the boat that's not riding the waves and instead pegged down. That boat's going to get a lot more impacted than if it just goes with the flow. Allow yourself now to go with the flow of change. Welcome the flow of change. Because the flow of change and how it's coming to you right now is exactly what feels good. Exactly what is needed and wanted by the change maker, the powerful creator that you are. So beware the familiar and really learn what feels good. And if you don't know and you want some help, this is my zone of genius. Join me for a divine dance and divine play session. Watch one of the recordings. Let me turn the volume up on what feels good so that you no longer sit in that danger zone of confusing familiar with what feels good. Big love to you all. Have a great day.